Growing up in Colorado, it's a cold weather state. And my whole life as a player and as a coach, I tried to find ways to eliminate that as being a negative for me. I practice indoors most of the time. I don't play as many games as players from California or Arizona or Florida. So I tried to figure out a way for me to become a better player and be able to master my craft while I was indoors. So basically, you look at golfers. Are you going to become a professional golfer, right? And you have to go to the range, and you have to have a swing coach, and you have to play golf. Well, if you don't have the finances to do that, then you have to put a mattress in your garage, and you have to put a net in your garage, and you have to bang balls if you want to be on the PGA circuit. You have to figure out a way. Hey, I don't have the finances to catch up with all the guys on the PGA Tour that have the finances, but I want to be a PGA player. So I have to find a way. I have to find a way to master my craft and get my swing in, right? And so you think about a cold weather player in the state of Colorado, he's competing against California, Arizona, Florida, Texas, warm weather places, and he has to figure out how to separate himself. Well, I always looked at a player from a cold weather state as a late developer. Like they're going to develop a little bit later because of the reps or because of what they do in game situations. But that doesn't mean that you should use that as a crux. You should figure out a way to get in the right number of reps. Like we can always do the big things in cold weather states, right? We can throw bullpens indoors. We can hit indoors. We can do that. We can't do the small things. We can't figure out how to be good base runners. We can't figure out how to be great defenders because we're not getting those reps all the time. So we have to figure out, what am I going to do to master that skill set and make myself better? Now, every weight room in America is indoors, so there's no reason to come from a cold weather state and not be strong enough. There's no reason to not be flexible enough. There's no reason to not have a baseball IQ. And what I talk about baseball IQ, you can watch baseball at a very high level and learn from players. The greatest example I have for this and for everybody that's listening, I had a player by the name of Aritz Garcia. Aritz Goni Garcia. He was from Spain, right, where they do the running of the bulls. And he became a baseball player at the college level, and he played professionally for 4 seasons. And he's back in Spain now coaching, right? And I always asked Aritz, how did you become such a great player? And he said, I watched baseball. He said, I watched guys move, and I tried to move like the people that I wanted to move like. So I watched Vizquel move at shortstop, and I wanted to move like Vizquel. So I went in my backyard, and I threw the ball against the wall. I did things to move like him. I learned how to swing by watching it on television. I didn't have a swing coach, and I couldn't play as many games as everybody else. So I practiced my swing by what I was seeing on television. So I think when you look at cold weather states, there should be zero excuses in the recruiting process. I think college coaches across the country would much rather take kids from cold weather states that are going to develop later, but they've worked very hard at developing their baseball IQ, and they've worked at the other pieces of the game. And now all you have to do is give them repetitions. If they get the right number of repetitions, they can take off. So I think we need to turn this negative into a positive, because when you're practicing indoors, you need to figure out, how do I practice correctly indoors? How do I get my repetitions correctly? And so it's all about that 1% increase in your talent level, but you have to do it correctly. You can't do it incorrectly. It's the same way with the strength and the same way with the emotional development. Those should never take a back seat. And so I've always recruited players from Colorado because they have to face more adversity than anybody else, because they want to get outside and play too, and they have to figure out to do something different. So it's always great to take those kids that have a little bit of adversity, put them in a great situation where the sun shines and they can play every day, and watch them blossom.